All right, I've muted all the lines, and I just want to welcome everybody to our Pathways to Abundance training for tonight. We have a couple special guests who are going to be taking over, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I get to just hang out. That's so much fun. Tonight is probably one of the most important nights that we've had so far, I think, because if you don't follow up, nothing works. And I'm so excited that Ming and Sue are going to do a presentation for us tonight about follow-up. They put a slideshow together. So here's the best part, I think, is that tonight we're recording this and we'll use this forever. So without any further ado, Ming and Sue, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you so much, and I can't wait to learn more about follow-up. Turn it over to you, Ming and Sue. Let me unmute you.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's Sue. Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. Well, follow-up really is where your fortune is. It's really where things are created, and it's how we create the desires of our heart. I think we work in Geo Wellness on what our vision is for the future. We know that sometimes pain will push us until a vision pulls us, and vision of what we want in terms of freedom and flexibility in our lives, in terms of service to others, that's really realized by this absolutely critical activity. And one of the things I want to share with you all, I think, can you see this on, I want to make sure I'm here, can you see the book I'm showing everyone? This is a book that I always share with my new teammates who come to Sue Gromberg and I have been doing this for a while, where we give this book. This really is an incredibly valuable book. And one of the things I love, I mean, it's actually 7 steps. It's called GoPro by Eric Worre, who, Donald, you were just talking about. And really, really we do just a very few precious things in this business. And first of all, we find prospects, we invite, we present, and we follow up. And there are a few concepts that Eric Worre shares that I really want us all to get. And number one is that following up is, and that's really critical. Number two, it's the only reason to have an exposure is to set up the next exposure. Number three is knowing that it takes an average of 4 to 6 exposures for your, for really an average person to join. And the fourth kind of principle is that condensing these exposures in follow-up is really valuable, and it's a benefit to your prospect or potential teammate because it helps them keep continuity of information and not kind of lose track of things. So that's something we always want to do with folks when we're helping them engage in this process, or gaining their permission to let us take them through the process, is to help them realize that the benefit to them is to do this process in a fairly short period of time. I like to say a week to a week and a half is really ideal. Sometimes even faster than that, like within a week. And the fifth is, and we'll talk a little bit about this at the end, is really being prepared to handle objections and questions. And we'll cover this at the end, that objections really are simply questions. And those three, there's really only 3 categories that those will fall into. And one is those limiting beliefs about themselves, limiting beliefs about network marketing, or just downright simple questions, that person needing more information. So, uh-oh. You know what, John? I'm just trying to move my slide. Ooh. Oh, there we go. So following up is really what we do with someone who's expressed an interest in learning more. And all we're doing, and this is so key because I really like to help at least, my team, and I don't know if anyone else out there has had this experience, but it can get a little overwhelming. Let's say we've had an event, let's say we've been to a booth, we have a bunch of people to follow up with, or we went to a network marketing or networking event and we've got leads or referrals. It's easy to get a little bit flustered. One of those things is to demystify it and just keep it simple. And that is really just following up with someone who's expressed an interest in learning more, and that really what we're doing is following up simply for the next step. Sue, did you have anything you wanted to say here?
Are you want me to go ahead with the, and first
Nope.
of all, can people hear me? Is um, my connection may be a little unstable?
I can hear you fine, Sue.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Ming, with the things that we do.
So one of the things I like to do to help it really stay simple is that there are really only 3 things we do in network marketing or in our businesses. And I will tell you, this was one of the most, brought great relief to me, and I really learned it from John Williams when I first came on board with Gia Wellness, and that everything we do falls into one of these 3 categories. So that's one thing. If we need to sort of stop and relax and realize, what are we doing? Are we finding prospects and inviting? Are we presenting to them? And are we following up? And one of the key things about follow-up is it can include inviting people to the next step or to a presentation. So it can include an invitation and a presentation, and we're going to cover that as we go. But one of the key things is just to avoid that overwhelm by keeping it simple and realizing that very simply we're doing our job to not only help us, to help others, to serve others based on their own interest with exposures that are designed to benefit them, to serve them, and also we're serving us and honoring ourselves in a great way because we take our vision and our dream and our desire for a better life seriously. So I am wondering why, there we go. So simply what we're really looking to do is gain agreement, to take someone who has agreed into the process of information that they're going to need to see the GIA picture. So one of the things I love to explain to people at any, early on in the process is that, that this is a process of exposures to information. And this is designed to help them really put the pieces of the puzzle together. And I love the graphic that you have on GIA Freedom, John, and we're going to cover that a little bit later too. But one of the things I explain to them is like, those children's puzzles, the wooden puzzles our kids played with. There might have been 8 pieces in it. Well, did you notice that it took maybe 4 to 6 pieces before you actually saw the scene? That's really what we're doing when we follow up, and we want to let them know, to really honor them and to respect them, to let them know that it's really going to benefit them to get these puzzle pieces or exposures of information that are going to provide them with the information they need to make a decision that's best for them or for their family. Sue?
So can I have you hold that slide a little bit?
Let me see if I want to see if shoot.
Hey, okay,
yep.
No, go backwards.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, great. Well, Ming has really covered a lot of ground there, and I just want to break it down a little bit more because, what does that really mean, gaining their agreement? And I want to kind of circle back to what we're going to do is share what that means. What does that look like or sound like? And we're going to explore those pieces, parts, so to speak. And as Ming said, there are 3 fundamental actions that we do in network marketing, and they are invite, present, and follow up. And I'm going to ask you to really take a look at that. And when you look at follow up, it actually turns back into those 3 steps again, because you're inviting them to go deeper into the process with their agreement to learn more. And you are presenting the appropriate information that will lead you to the next step. And that next step is the next follow-up. So as Ming said, she learned that early on and she passed that on to me. And that is one of the things that really helped me through my initial years of doing GIA and follow-up, because those 3 foundational actions really helped me focus, because there are times when we get flustered or we get a question that we weren't expecting or whatever that is. And if you try to refocus on what part of that process of inviting and presenting and follow-up you are in the process of your follow-up, it can help you refocus where you need to go. So what does that look like? So how do we do this? Ming, you want to go to the next slide?
Yep.
And do you have something you want to say about that? I know you love this slide.
I just want to say that you're bringing you to this. You're literally creating your vision. So it's really be you and bring all of you to this process, your desire to serve, to love, your passion, and really let your vision pull you. So, and I'll just say you really are enough and you're equipped, and use your resources. I know Sue's going to have a few things to say about this too, and take over for a little bit. But really, one of the things I like to help people realize is you've been a professional for many, many years, and you've got the skills you need, the interpersonal skills. You're equipped. And just trusting that, bringing yourself to this process, your own authenticity, your passion, and your vision. And then what we're going to do is help as well with the technical resources that are needed for follow-up with GeoWellness. But Sue?
So Ming, you want to go to the next slide?
Yep.
Great. So, how do we do this? How do we use the resources? How do we do this? Well, we're going to do it as you being you, and bringing a specific mindset of discovery and a heart set of caring when you are doing your follow-up. If you do this, you can truly enjoy this part of the process, because especially in this crazy world where there's so much fast pace of activity going on, people really do appreciate being cared for. So many times people get so wound up in daily life, the things they need and want sort of get buried. And so we have the opportunity to help them reveal that. And so this mindset of discovery really requires curiosity. And curiosity requires you asking questions and listening, and really listening with real interest in what the person's saying, because what they say is going to identify the next step. So it's a good time to be starting to take notes, but the next step is the next exposure. So I want to just share a little quick story about early on. I was visiting with a woman who in our conversations kept sharing concern about small children or a small-sized person using Gia products. And we went around and around sharing information that she was requesting. And I finally asked her, are you concerned about an issue with a small child using these products? And her response literally surprised the heck out of me, because it led me to introducing her to my sponsor, Debbie Gwynn, who is a master herbalist and an absolute advocate of protecting our pets from the EMF exposure. And as it turns out, that's all it took. This gal came on board because she was more concerned about the health of her pets than she was about herself. And if I hadn't asked that questions, I would not have gotten that revealed. So questions and listening to the response is really, really important. And so, as I said, follow-up for me, and I think for you, can be really one of the fun parts of doing your Gia business, because really it's you, it's the authentic you in conversation with people, developing that relationship and finding out what it is they need and want to change in their lives or to make a difference. And it gives us a clue to the solutions of what we can do to solve their problem. And so the follow-up process is, in my mind, and I hope in yours, is a very professional and respectful way to build trust, educate, stimulate more interest, and move them toward the next step, and ultimately making a decision to join you at some level. So I will say, as Ming said in the opening, the follow-up is what we do with people who have expressed an interest in learning more. And as many of you know, there are many different ways where people have had exposure to GIA and have told us they want to learn more. So we'll go to the next slide and find out about some of those.
And maybe I'll just jump in one sec, Sue. I want to say, as Linda Cormier trains us so well, ask more than tell.
Yep.
What she also shares is that we listen to a story, share our story, and that is really our personal story about what excited us about where we were, what excited us about GIA Wellness, and the vision we see for the future, where we're going with it. And then we weave a story together. So it's asking more than telling, and listening to a story, sharing a story, and building a story together. So,
thanks, Ming.
Okay. So really, you're a professional relationship builder. We're just going to talk briefly about what some follow-up might look like. It's some of these. What we've done is we tried to enumerate a bunch of the ways, of the types of places where you would meet people, where you've been able to talk a little bit about GIA Wellness and establish some interest or intrigue. And maybe I thought we'd just go ahead and try some languaging with some of these. So Sue, do you want to take it away with a personal warm network?
I would love to. And I would just say this just happened a couple weeks ago. We were invited to a dinner party, and this is a phone call that I made after the dinner party, and it went something like this. Hi, Mary Kay. This is Sue Gromberg. I just wanted to take a quick minute to say it was really fun seeing you again at the dinner party, and that we had a chance to catch up, and that I really appreciated you asking me to learn more about the eye water system that I use. And so I thought I would give you a call and see if maybe we could have some coffee and chat about that. Boom, made the appointment. And so that's one way you can encourage somebody who's in your warm market, whether you meet them, at the grocery store and you've had a conversation and they let you know that there's an entry point for you to talk about GIA with a phone call, text, or an email. Ming?
Great. Events. I know Sue and I do a lot of booths and expos. I know Kedzie, you do too. One of the things that's beautiful about events is that we've had an opportunity. First of all, people have approached us, so we know they're interested. We may know a little bit about what they're interested in. We've been able to maybe do some product demos with them. So when I follow up from an event, I'm definitely going to try to, I'm going to identify who I am, whether it's in an email, a text message, or a phone call. Identify, this is Ming. We met at the GIA Wellness booth with the fun water demos or the energetic products that safeguard from radiation, whatever that is. You expressed an interest in learning more about how you could protect your 5 teenage children, or whatever that that is that their particular interest is. And I know we had a great experience with your daughter, with the pendant. And then what I'll do is I would just lead them to the next step. I'm going to say, I mentioned that I would send this website to you that has, that really gives a great overview of the GIA Wellness products and the opportunity. And I will give the giafreedom.com. And then I'm going to just say to them too, whether it's phone, email, text, something like that, let me know when is a good time, whether early this week or later in the week is good for you. Usually I'll try to give a choice between 2 times so that they can choose one or the other rather than leaving it open-ended. And then just something really, just a nice great thing. With something like Thanksgiving or a holiday or things coming up, I actually might go out and say, I know you may be busy with family and friends over the holidays. Just heads up, who knows? But occasionally GIA Wellness has a fabulous promotion or something like that. Or if there's a promotion going on and there's established enough interest, I might say something about that too. So just things to keep that connection going. Sue, I'll talk about networking events. Similar to that, with a networking event where somebody has expressed an interest, it actually would be a follow-up, whether it's I love text messages, and I know that this is a lot what we're talking about these days too. Hey, Hey, Greg, it was great meeting you at the networking event. I'm so glad, or delighted that you expressed an interest in getting your family protected, or in looking at just looking at another potential source of income. I'm just curious, would there be a good time for us to get together early this week or later in the week, or blah, 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 something like that? Or would you like to take a look at a piece of information? If so, let me know, or here it is. So something like that. So we'll just move on through these. Sue?
Great. So referrals are really kind of interesting. And when I respond to a referral, I usually use the phone, an email, or private messaging. Actually works really well. I don't use texting because I don't know the person. And so I have a person that is a mutual friend usually, and one of the things I like to do is I obviously mention the mutual friend, but I also validate the mutual friend's connection to me and Gia, and why that person is suggesting that we get together and speak about Gia wellness. And so when I do that, it might sound something like this in an email, private message, or on the phone. And I would say, hey there, it's Sue Gromberg. Our mutual friend, Kit, suggested that I connect with you regarding your interest and concern around electromagnetic radiation. And I'm really delighted that you were introduced to Gia Wellness through my friend Kit, because, as you know, she's extremely discriminating and discerning around her healthy lifestyle choices, and that she chooses for her family and her friends. And so I would love to get together with you and chat about your interest in the products that Kit recommends. And that's very simple, and I would just say, let me know. I'll give you a call in a couple of days, or let me know sooner when we can meet. And that's basically what I would say, but I think best not to forget to validate the person who referred. Ming?
That's a great point, Sue. Special interest groups, I love this, and I'll just have a great story from last night, because we have a church home group, and I have 3 new potential teammates from our church home group last night, and it just so happened that in the book we were reading, there was a component or something by a professor from San Diego State University speaking about how cell phones are affecting this, this generation. Also, we were talking about stress and stressors and anxiety and things like this. So the topic came up, and as it turned out, somebody made reference to something. I actually am sending Patrick Colbeck's. I'm pulling the piece, because this was what they were kind of looking for, was some kind of validation, from a legislator. That's what we got talking about. So I actually sent some of those pieces from the Dropbox that Karen Grant has created from the 5G Awareness Forum to 3 folks today. So pretty exciting, and excited to follow up with them. But of course, just delighted you were, took an interest, or just was amazed this topic came up. And it's so wonderful to meet another one like-minded who's really searching for, great answers for their family. Here's the information that you were looking for. Let me know when it's a good time to check in, whether we want to check in before the holiday or after, something like that. So also online social media connections. This is great. I know that I'll just give an example too. I got on the EMF awareness that Lloyd Burrell did, and I did a chat after one of the lectures, and a woman, sort of solicitor, went, private messaged me asking me for information. So what I did was I responded as much to that, thanks so much and blah, 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 told a little bit of my story, gave her the Gia Freedom website and my Gia website, and I gave her my phone number, and I said, please call or text me. It's really best if we can go through this process. It takes, it takes a few different information feeds or some exposures to this information, and one of the most valuable to you is actually speaking to one of us who has, been using these products for many years to help you the most. So things like that. I'm looking forward to hearing back from her. So Sue, do you want to talk about presentation?
Yeah, especially the Generation Zapped presentations. A lot of us are still doing them, and even our regular presentations. But this is a good time to talk a little bit about making sure that when we have presentations, we have a way to follow up. Whether we have a sign-in sheet or we have, whatever process you use to get the contact information. And for example, after the Generation Zapped, I love this because the Generation Zapped film stimulates a lot of interest. And when we do Generation Zapped, like many of you out there, is we do demonstrations. We have a display of the products. And this actually happened at the last Generation Zapped that we did, is that this woman came and she brought her 3 sons, and they were so aware of this issue, and they wanted to be the people that you did demonstrations with. And, kids are great to do demonstrations with. Well, it made such an imprint on the mom, and it was really important in our follow-up, because we kind of ran out of time because they wanted to know more about how everything fit together. And so when I reached out to her in the follow-up, I mentioned all of the demonstrations, how much fun it was to have their kids there, and it was great energy for the rest of the people who were watching. But it was really important for her to hear more about how they fit together. And what I did is I sent the video or the audio recording of Chantal and Shelley, and I've forgotten who the other person was on there, and how the use of the Gia products changed their family. And that was really significant in their finding out more and going the next step. So that's one way of following up, is sending them information that we have on video. So, Ming?
Well, Operation Hydration, and this, what I love so well, because John has created such a comprehensive program in the Operation Hydration, following the protocol, calling them on day 1, day 3. I think it's Sue, Hempy Sue out there, who was checking in with him every day, or was that Chantal? But that's fabulous, especially as, as results can really escalate and excitement can escalate. So follow up from Operation Hydration is amazing, always doing, we call making sure, I like to make sure before they start Operation Hydration that they've watched the video with Karen Knott and Leslie Valentine, and that fabulous testimonial video. But there are, you could even do the presentation Zoom, in this process, or invite them while they're going through Operation Hydration. And of course, taking a look at Gia Freedom and any other information. And we're going to get into some of those information feed, or actually that information exposure process shortly. So really the how-to. Here are our options. This is really kind of keeping it simple. Once again, it's easy to get overwhelmed and think, oh my gosh, what should I do? How should I communicate? There really aren't that many ways to communicate. Phone is okay. Texting is great. I know now, especially, people do respond to text. Texting is one of my favorite. I will say I always phone people after I meet them at a booth. I always do that. Sue, did you want to say about some of these too?
Well, I do want to say, no matter which one of these you use, since we're going from exposure to exposure, and we want to keep the exposures close together, and so don't let a lot of lag time happen between exposures, even if it's your first one, because that's when their interest is the highest. And so that's, I love this, inviting people to Zooms, because they get to see the excitement in consultants' expressions on their faces and what they say. So that's to the next step. Those are the how-tos. Those are the tools we use. On the next slide, Ming. Yep.
Here's the pieces of the puzzle, and this is it. What we did is, I think we did about, I don't know if this is like 9 here, but as we know that it's 4 to 6 exposures the average person needs. These are, you know, some of them are actually kind of in order of, well, I don't know that they're in order of importance, but I will say that the GiaFreedom.com for me has really become the intro to Gia Wellness. And I usually tee that up by letting them know that, that one of the leading consultant in our company has actually teamed up with someone and created a fabulous website with 4 videos that can be watched in under an hour that really give the in many ways, really give the picture of the Gia Wellness products, what we're trying to do with the Inspired Wellness Home. And you'll get to hear directly from our co-CEO on the product technologies and how they work. And depending on what the person's expressed interest is, I'm going to emphasize that a little bit more when I tee this up or talk to them about GiaFreedom.com, whether I'm texting it, writing it in an email, or saying it to them over the phone. And I may even direct them specifically to videos. If it's someone I feel could, you know, needs smaller pieces of information, I will email the videos individually, maybe the first 2 and then the second 2. Once we've established their interest and then they want to learn more about the products, we'll do, you know, we'll do 3 and 4. So things like that. My personal Gia website, I always want to make sure that they have that as well. But what I always like to do is explain to them that this GiaFreedom.com fabulous tool that really is going to enable them. It's just going to sort of walk them through really what we're doing with creating a 360-degree approach to living and thriving in the wireless world and creating the Inspired Wellness Home or office. So the personal Gia website, the Gia overview presentation, and I have it here. I couldn't upload the MP4 onto this slide, but I do recommend everybody have the MP4 because then you can download it to your computer, and if you're somewhere meeting with someone where you don't have Wi-Fi, you can actually do the overview presentation. That this is the brand new one created, gosh, within the last month, I think, that has the animation videos in it as well. Also, the Facebook pages. And this is beautiful thing about Gia Freedom is at the end of Gia Freedom, that person can opt to join Gia Wellness Lifestyle and the Wireless Safety Gia Moms on a Mission. What I found is they don't always do that without direction. So one of the things that's really good is to just ask them, you know what? You know, and here's how I position it. As I say, you probably want to hear directly, like when you buy something on Amazon, you know, do you read the reviews? And they're like, yeah. And I said, do you like to read that it's a verified purchaser? And they're like, well, yeah. I say, well, we actually have some wonderful closed Facebook pages that I could invite you into, or where you can actually take a look at product experiences that real Gia users are having. And you can feel the palpable enthusiasm. Some of them are done in video form. It's a lot of fun. It's great information. And it's going to be a really, valuable, beneficial exposure for you. So I'll emphasize the value for them. Whichever website or whichever Facebook page I'm talking about, I'm going to make sure that it's a value-based statement for them. The 3-way introduction, oh my gosh, this is a critical piece, and the growth of your team is directly related to how many 3-way calls you do. Bottom line, that's just the way it is. Operation Hydration is a fabulous tool as well to introduce and to actually, and I recommend doing the entire protocol. It's really important that you do it that way because you want to set with people, or set the expectations so that they actually know what what's happening with them, and you're following along. Sue, do you want to say anything about those, or maybe talk about the next ones?
So I would just say I want to reiterate that I think the core piece, and that's probably why it's at the top of this list, is the giafreedom.com. To work from that is such an easy way to go about introducing people to different parts of GIA. You know, inviting people, the Pathway to Abundance recorded testimonials Zoom was stunning. And, you know, people love stories, and that is really a great Zoom to send to them because they'll hear across the board a lot of different pieces of information on how these products are affecting people in their homes and their lives. The next one, Alfred's interview with Dr. Cheryl Selman, that took place on November 8th, in my opinion, is one of the best comprehensive conversational interviews between these two experts that is a must listen to at some point in the exposure process. And Dr. Selman has an article which we sometimes send to people because it's also very comprehensive, and it's the solutions to protect you from the Wi-Fi world. And it is also listed on the general website right under the title banner. It says, I think it's article on Total Health Magazine. It's there. You can download it right there. So those are the pieces of the puzzle, and it depends on where you are in your follow-up and in the process with each person, and what feels like the appropriate piece of the process or piece of the puzzle to introduce them to. Here they are, and lucky us. We had all these amazing people help us put these together. And again, I'll acknowledge John Williams for really helping us pull this together. This makes me so excited every time I see it. This entire list is so easy to use. So thank you again, John. And Ming?
Yeah, you know what, I wanted to emphasize this one, invite to a Zoom or the next exciting event. And this is really key, and I should say live event here, because it's just incredibly valuable. You know, we had, I don't know who had potential teammates on Monday night's Pathway to Abundance that was recorded, the one that we're referring to down below here, but any potential teammate who was listening in on that, I think would, you know, their jaw will have dropped. So also next exciting event, sometimes we have Zooms like John did, I think it was a couple months ago, or the month of August, where we had Linda twice a week, Linda and Alfred, or Linda twice a week on Thursdays. So if there's a live event, invite them to. Of course, if we're near the conference, invite them to the conference, whatever those things are, but really a Zoom or the next exciting event.
So Ming, I just would
Yes.
like to just say here, all of that information, and particularly that one, behooves us all to stay connected and encourage our consultants to be connected so we know what the next event is. So anyway, that was just something I wanted to throw in there. So you can go to the next slide.
Great point. Okay. GIA options to get started. There are, I just want to keep it simple for people, is that when it is, when it's time where they're like, well, yeah, I'm interested in this, what are the packages or what's the pricing? These are really the documents that are de rigueur for me, for us, and for our teams that we're training. And really what I've done is really started using the Inspired Wellness Home Overview as a working brochure. And the reason is because it speaks about the problem, it talks about, the symptoms, it talks about the solution, and it directs people, and this is how I say, to really the three most popular options, in the GIA field, also the three highest value options. And if you're interested in, the highest value options that are going to help you create the Inspired Wellness Home or join GIA with the greatest amount of value for your investment, then you're going to want to take a look at these first. That said, I'm going to, we're including the price list as well if there's things they want to add. Obviously, if there's any special promotion going on, you're going to make sure that they're completely updated. And that's a value add too if they're in this process. And, we have a flash promotion. That's always a great reason to reach out and follow up. I love to do it by text. Hey, Ed, I just found out we have a free shipping promotion, this week, and I know you're taking a look at all this. Just wanted to let you know in case it influences you, or in case you're on the fence, and that's a decision, something like that. So I have the updated price list, always the 10-10-10 ARO program, and the automatic reorder conversation for 2 reasons. Of course, one, it is the lifeblood of our business, and so it's essential for us to earn our commissions and optimize our commissions and bonuses. But number 2, it's literally the way we get our transformation. Wellness is a transformational company. The products are transformational. There are basically 3 fundamental pillars that are being addressed. And the third pillar, which is the optimized, single file aligned, energized nutritionals, are the consumable products, are key to actually repairing our body from damage and really literally restoring and renewing ourselves the way we notice we have been when we've been around Gia for a little while. Of course, your personal website, that too, and I think we mentioned that above. Sue, did you want to say anything about these before we kind of?
I think you can move on, and I think we'll follow up on that too.
Sue, you want to talk about this?
Well, I think you did mention this a bit in talking about those items, but follow-up is a continual process. So you're going from one exposure to the next, and every time you are visiting with someone, whether it's planned or it's a way to reach out to them, you are always wanting to add value to the conversation. That's why you're reaching out to them, and you're giving them either something that came up that you discovered was a piece of information that you knew that particular person would need or like, and you can reach out with a text or a phone call or however you do that, and saying, this is a piece of information that just came across my desk, and I know that it's something that was really a part of the questions that you were asking. I think you would really enjoy listening to it. Would it be okay if I send it to you? And then can we talk after that? So it's another way to reach out, is to not just to call so that they think that you're waiting for them to pull out their credit card. You are actually moving them toward giving you more information around what they need. And so that's adding value to the process.
I love it. And I love the languaging around adding value, Sue. I thought that was great. And the languaging, I was like, you shared with me that you were interested in this. I just found out there's this, there's that, there's a call, there's a Zoom, or I've been thinking of you, and I think this will be a real benefit, a real value add for you in your process, something like that. Asking the question, and it's really important. Obviously, we create our vision by growing our Gia Wellness teams, and by then empowering those teams to grow themselves as our new teammates to grow their teams as well. This is a question that I don't know if there's anyone out there who's ever been afraid to ask this question, but what I want to do is just take just diffuse it. It is actually one of the most polite things you can do, because it is the only way you really know where they're at. And so asking them at a time when it does feel appropriate in the process, you know what, I'm just curious, you've seen this, you've seen that, you've seen these things, you expressed interest, you talked to your husband about this, you were, I know you were starting this list, whatever that is. We did that great 3-way call with Karen Knott or whatever that is. I'm just curious, are you ready to get started? And when you ask this question, you ask it, and no matter how nervous your stomach might be, because obviously when we ask this question, the things that might come up is they might say yes, and they might say no. One of the things we really have to train ourselves is that a no doesn't mean that we're rejected. So it's really important to get ourselves out of the way here. And when we ask them, are you ready to get started? It's really a polite way, a kind, a generous out really where they are, to take their temperature. And get your finger on the pulse of where they are in the process, because here's where their questions are going to come up, or their objections. And we talked about this right at the beginning. Objections are simply questions cloaked in an objection. So this is a really important question to be able to ask. Practice it in front of the mirror, whatever it is, ask it. Then don't talk, and listen with your heart, because what they'll say will give you tremendous amount of information for you to be able to take them to the next step, because it may be having to get some questions answered for them or some things like that. Okay, but I will say, once we can kind of overcome this as a block, it's absolutely amazing, and it's one of the most critical tools.
So Ming, could I just share with you the group here too, is, if is hard for you to say, are you ready to get started? There are other ways of saying that, and one of the ones that I found that is a very soft way of saying it, but it says the same thing, is when people are sharing with you, I like this, I like that, I don't know how many of these I would need, or whatever it is that's giving you a clue that it might be time to ask them. You could say, would you like to see what that would look like? Or you could say, would you like to see the most popular way people get started? Or there are a lot of different ways of saying that. So use your intuition and with the person that's in front of you. And and whatever they say is going to lead you to whatever they need next.
I love it. Thank you, Sue. So getting their questions answered, don't freak out, find out. Objections are questions, and no doesn't necessarily mean no. It just means not right now, because whatever those things are. If we don't find out, we can't really help them. And this is, this is just like I said, this is part of the care and part of our job. So one of the things about this too, and Sue, you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I love the idea of not freaking out, because I can remember feeling that way. I was like, oh, what's going to happen here? But what I discovered was that when people come up with something negative, or or anything that is other than, yes, I want to get started, it's just another step in them revealing their blind spots and their need for more information. It's just simply that. And once I let go of freaking out and realizing that that was the case, it just, stopped the stomach from turning and the fearfulness around that question. And now I actually love asking it, because it means I'm going to be closer to them coming on board.
I love it. And one of the things with objections, and I think this is what Eric Worre says, really there are just a few different objections. One is they simply need more information. Maybe they need to, they simply need more information. The other, and this is where we really truly serve them, this is, we're talking about all of this is in service of the growth, the inspiration, and the abundance that GIA has to offer. Not only for us to realize in our lives, to use that vehicle to, create our vision, but to help others achieve the kind of freedom that we see as possible. So when we can ask, find out what their objections are, it may be a limiting belief they have in themselves. It may be a limiting belief they have in network marketing. These provide opportunities for us to, again, ask more questions and find out what the rub is. Sometimes all they need to do is get it off their chest. Absolutely. And I will just tell you, I had that experience. I had an experience with a woman, and I can't remember, she was struggling and whatever it was, and I just let her talk. And it was like she was not going to do anything. I let her talk. By the end of it, she said, I'm ready to get it. And I was like, get what? I was like, I want to get the manager pack. I mean, I was like, I'm it was hysterical. All I had done was prompted and allowed her to get some stuff off her chest that she needed to get off her chest about network marketing, and she had already seen enough of Gia Wellness to know that she wanted to be involved. It was a great learning experience for me. Sue, you want to say anything else before we go to the next slide? Because I know we need
No, I think we can go to the next slide.
Okay. Sue?
So yeah, well, all right. I love this part. The follow-up is, sharing the Gia vision. It's sharing what is possible through Gia, and it's helping us to create healthier, happier, and more prosperous people in the world. And for me, it also means that we get to be Gia. That's our chance in the follow-up, is to be Gia, because we can share the growth of our physical well-being. We can inspire people to be who they want to be, and reach their dreams and have the kind of abundance they really desire. So, I just happen to believe that this follow-up, this is where we become our best authentic self, giving and receiving while connecting with family and friends and new acquaintances to these amazing wellness solutions, so they can experience all of Gia and help them be healthier, happier, and more financially free. And that's what the world needs. The more we are financially free, the more we can do. So it's you and me and the rest of the Gia world interacting with others, connecting them to the Gia vision.
Sue, that's beautiful. And I think what I really liked, John, I had a conversation with John, I think maybe it was last week, and he really talked about our passion. I mean, we at Gia have incredible passion, and our new teammates have a lot of passion. And that's going to get us, a fair way. It's going to get us quite a way. It's really our vision that's going to pull us through. And I can't remember where it was we learned this, but it was pain pushes us, so that the discomfort of lives and jobs and things we don't want the way we don't want it, or lack of health, pushes us until a vision pulls us. And that's really what Gia Wellness has to offer. It actually is, it enables us to believe in the beauty of our dreams and know that we have a vehicle to get there. And really, it's about freedom. John, thank you very much for that. And also really about creating our vision. And this is a quote that I like to live by. And I can't remember who said it, but was somebody in the business world. But really the best way to predict the future is just to go ahead and create it. And with that, I think we are at the end. So thank you.
Great job. I know we went a little bit over usual, but it was an incredible Zoom tonight. There's so many good things that are on this presentation that are so helpful. I wish that we had time to go over all of them, but we can just open it up. Anybody have a question, a thought that you want to share? That would be great. Just unmute and come on. Can you go back one slide?
Yep.
I mean, go back to the end and back one.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the end. Thank you.
While we're getting there, John, I just want to reiterate that was an amazing presentation, ladies. Fabulous. Really well done, well shared, and I thank you very, very much for this.
Back up one more slide. I agree with you, Sue. So I see a t-shirt or a sweater or something that says the Gia Vision, creating a healthier, happier, more prosperous world. That would be really great on the front of a shirt. And I'm going to really work on that, because that's going to create questions, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Thank you, John. I think that's a great idea.
I love it.
Hey, it's Karen. I just wanted to really quickly say awesome job as always, but just thank you so much for the languaging and your examples of different text, and I think that's going to be so helpful for so many of us, and the fact that this is recorded and we can go back and hear it. So thank you. I think that's a really extraordinarily useful part of this too. So thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. The slide that you listed the resources, I think you had Gia Freedom at the top and all the resources. As I was looking at that, and know that I've seen and listened to all of them, in my mind I was thinking, if we could help people just to go through this process and listen to, Cheryl's talk with Alfred last week, oh my gosh, That was incredible. Just there's so many things here that why wouldn't everybody want to be a part of this if they could just know what's on this page? And we can't do it all. We have to do it one piece at a time. But if you know there's 4 to 6 exposures, and here they all are. And I think you said talk to the person and get that agreement idea that they're going to go through this process and let them know what's going to happen. And then it's just a natural progression. And then if you ask them along the way, are you ready? Then you know if they're ready or they need another exposure. It's just so perfect. Mm-hmm. And this page really hit home to me about, it just brought it all together, what we have to offer people. I thought it was so good. Anybody else before we go?
You know, I just have to say you guys are a dynamic duo. I always love listening to your great teachers. I'm so excited that this is recorded. I'll be able to go back and listen to it over and over and over with my team, and it's going to be so helpful. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Are awesome.
All right.
I agree. This was so amazingly helpful. Thank you so much.
Georgia, thank you. All right, guys, great job. Thank you so much for doing this. Incredible. I'll have this posted tomorrow on our Facebook page, the Gia Freedom page. Also, it'll be on YouTube, Gia Wellness John, so you can get it there under Pathways to Abundance. And just thanks so much, guys. It was so, so good. Share it with everybody. Have a great night. Great time to be a part of Gia. Let's do this. Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.